Hey there. Welcome to the Wealth Seed. This is your hostess, Lexi Johnson. I'm an international speaker. I am a licensed financial coach and strategist, real estate investor, so many other things, but it does not matter at this moment in time. But we are here for another episode 66, I believe. And if I've got the numbers wrong, I'll straighten them out someday, y'all. I promise. Okay. We are in the midst of a series called Getting Organized in Our Finances, right? And this is part 5 of that series. We're going to be talking about investing basics. But before we do that, we talked about debt elimination. We talked about emergency funds. We've talked about just in general getting organized, setting goals, all those types of things, right? So make sure that you go back and catch the previous episodes, like this is 5. So go catch the previous 4, right? You can do that on our YouTube channel very easily at Money Mastery, the number 4, her. Number 54 at Money Mastery for her 54. All right. So what I'm going to do is take a moment. I'm going to ask you guys as you're coming into the room, let me know who you are, where you are watching from. We always love to acknowledge those who have taken the time to do so. And as you're doing that, I am going to get into my Facebook because towards the end of April, Facebook did something where you now can't automatically like stream into your Facebook groups. And this podcast really mainly was for my Facebook group, which is crazy. So let me take a moment and share this into the group so that they can get the information that they're supposed to get. All right, so here we go. Hello, Apostle. Good to see you. So today we're talking investing basics. And in this episode, we're going to explore the importance of saving for both short-term and long-term goals. We're going to discuss strategies for that. We're going to discuss the power of compound interest. We're going to talk about how you align your financial goals with your life priorities, with your investing, right? And of course, as always, we're going to incorporate biblical principles so that we can provide a spiritual perspective on investing and planning for the future. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so now the first thing I want to say is this. A lot of times people will interchange the words saving and investing. And I want to tell you right now, right out the gate, that those two words are not one and the same, and they are not interchangeable. Okay. So some people, they look at their 401ks and they'll call it a savings or, any type of investment, and they might call it in a savings. Excuse me, Lord, I can't talk. They may call it a savings, but that is not the case. Okay. Now, a savings, Facebook is doing way too much, Apostle. I just saw your account. Like I was sitting here for a few minutes trying to figure out like how to stream this back to the group. But anyway, when we talk about saving, right? You're putting money away. And it's not money that is gaining any interest or compounding or very, very little interest at all. So you put money in a bank, okay, and you're putting money in there every week and that's saving, okay? That is not investing, people, okay? But investing is actually where you are earning interest, and dare I say, earning meaningful interest on the money, right? Or that there's compound interest, right? So that you are able to multiply this money in a shorter period of time. Okay. So there's a difference. And I want to clear that up really, really, really quickly. So if you've been using those words interchangeably, do not use them interchangeably. Okay. All right. So once again, let us know who you are, where you're watching from as you're coming on in the room, so that I can acknowledge your presence if you so desire. I want to be kind about it. But you in my house, right? How you walk in somebody's house and don't say hello? Say hello. Anyway, um, let's get to it. So, what is the importance of investing? What is the importance of investing? If you are looking to become financially independent, because y'all, there's a difference between financially free, financially independent, all of that. Oh, I have to spend it some time, like going, not today, but some time going through those terms as well, right? Then there's abundance. So if you want to be any or all of those, right? Just having a 9 to 5 is not going to do it. And listen, even entrepreneurs, just having a business is not going to do it, because it's what you do with the income that you're producing, okay, that is going to lead you to things like abundance, okay? Multiplication. So when we're talking about investing, we're really talking about multiplication. Saving is adding, okay? Investing is multiplying. So the importance of investing is so that you can come to financial security. You can have peace of mind. You can achieve some milestones, right? Like some people think like buying a home and retirement and all of these, saving for education. You just put in a saving account and add. But investing will help you to achieve those milestones quicker. Okay. They can help you to achieve those milestones quicker. Now, of course, there's risk with investing. There's always risk with investing. So I want to make sure that you all understand that there is Hey, Brother Maycock, good to see you. There's risk just living life, okay? There is no guarantee that you opened your eyes this morning that you're going to close your eyes tonight and open your eyes again the next morning. There just isn't. It's a risk. You can go outside of your home. Anything can happen. Inside of your home, there are risks. Anything can happen. So living life, period, is risk. So I want us to first of all, not be so scary when the word risk is talked about as it relates to investments, because life is just risky, period. Okay. You can decide, hey, I'm going to go to the university and study, and there is the risk that you don't finish. Okay. There is a risk that you don't end up in the major that you want or whatever. So life just comes with a lot of risk. You and your husband decide to have a child, there are risks. Okay, you can have a very healthy child, or you may not have a healthy child, right? But there may be some other issues. Like there's risk in everything. Okay, so get comfortable with risk. Now, investing, one of the things that I do talk about is making sure that you take calculated risk. Okay. So there is a difference between just willy-nilly risking it all. Whisking? Did I say whisking? Risking it all versus I'm taking some calculated risk. Okay. I probably need to do a show just on what calculated risk means. Okay. But that means studying the investment, knowing the numbers, what kind of return are you getting? How long will it take for you to make your principal back and then yield a return? Is this investment that you're looking at in alignment with the goals that you're wanting to achieve, right? If you want to buy a house in 1 year and you are looking to invest, well, certainly you're not going to put money in a retirement account and say, I'm going to use this money to buy a house. It doesn't line up, because retirement accounts are types of investments that you should not touch until you retire. And if you do, there's penalties and all sorts of things, right? So That's what I'm talking about, right? Anyway, let's keep moving. So we're talking about the importance of investing. Okay. So it helps you to achieve financial security, financial abundance. If we're talking scripturally, y'all know one of my favorite scriptures, Genesis 1:28, that talks to us about being fruitful, multiplying, dominating, in that order, right? So when we talk about money, when we say produce, let's just say that is you, that's the income that you make, however you make your income, whether it's through business, whether it's you work a 9 to 5, whatever it is, or a 9 to 12 part-time, 9 to 1, whatever it is, right, that you produce. But now you got to take what you produce and multiply. That is a biblical mandate. For every resource that God has given us, we must produce, multiply, dominate. Okay. So you've got to take what you produce and now you've got to multiply. And why are we multiplying? Because God has also given us another mandate that we are to, make sure that the kingdom is taken care of. Those that are in the kingdom are taken care of, right? So that can include our families and that can include, others. That's a whole nother thing, but I don't want to get into that. So that's the importance of multiplying. Okay. That is the importance of multiplying. Now, Proverbs 21:5 says that the plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. So once again, I was talking about that calculated risk, and I want to make sure that we understand that you, even in investing, you don't want to be hasty about it, because some people can get super excited about investing and, or they just think they're going to make some super quick money, which sometimes the money can be quick, y'all. But again, you don't want to be hasty. Okay. You want to be diligent. Now, diligent doesn't mean that it takes you 10 years to figure it out. Okay. It doesn't mean that it takes you 10 years to, make sure it's a good investment. No, diligent means exactly what I said earlier, just studying the investment and making sure that it is an investment that is sound, that's good for you and your goals and what you are trying to achieve. Okay, that's what diligence means. All right. Now, I want to give me just a second here. I want to, there we go. I was looking up my my scriptures, but I also want to share with you that for the most part, we really shouldn't be looking to try to turn a quick buck at all, right? We should be looking to grow wealth over time. Prayerfully, we have started early or have been taught to start early. Most of us have not. And so if you're like me and we were not taught these things very early, it's okay. You start when you know, right? The Bible says, in your ignorance, he winks, right? But when you know, okay, then you need to do something about it. And so even if you start later in life, it is still better than not doing anything at all, because God is a restorer of time, right? He is a restorer of time. So, but ideally you want to grow wealth over time. So wealth could be over 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, so on and so forth. Okay. You can invest again for retirement. You can invest so you can pay for education. You can invest to make major purchases. You can invest to protect yourself against inflation. Hello, right? So one of the things that I talk with my clients about all the time, particularly clients who have large sums of money that are just sitting in the bank, right? Because they're like, I'm just saving it for, it could be whatever they're saving it for, right? But they have large sums of money sitting in the bank. Let me give you, I guess maybe 80,000, 100,000, 150,000, 200,000 sitting in the bank, 50,000. 30,000. Look, so you got a large sum of money that is just sitting in the bank. That bank is losing buying power over time. What do I mean by that? Because of inflation, right? It is losing buying power. The cost of things are going up and up and up because of inflation. And they're going up by whatever the inflation rate is, right? It used to hover around, 3% or so. Then we saw it hit like 7, 8%. You know what I'm saying? So any monies that are sitting in the bank is losing buying power. So we can take a portion of those funds and put it in something. It doesn't have to be something, super aggressive or anything at all. It can be very conservative, but yet it's beating inflation. So for example, let's just say the inflation rate is, and it's not 2%. It's not. It's so not, okay? Or 3%, right? You want to find a conservative investment that's going to beat that. Okay, so if you find something that's going to give you 4% or 5%, like some of the high yield savings accounts may do that. There are a few that will do that for a long term. Some of that do that only for an introductory period. So be very careful with that. That's how they get you in, like, oh yeah, we give, 4.5% return. And then you get in there and you find out it's only for 2 months, right? So, but you have these high yield savings accounts. You also have things like municipal bonds, utility bonds that may be performing better than inflation. And then, some things in real estate that you can do, tax lien investing that you can do that may perform better than that will help you keep up with inflation. And there are many other things. Okay. So these are some reasons why we invest. Okay. Now, if you, anytime, so there are these things called your investment profile, this thing called your investment profile. And what that means is you are a conservative, a moderate, or an aggressive investor. What does that mean? If you're conservative, that means that you are really risk averse. Like you do not want to take risk hardly at all. Okay. I can't say at all because there's risk to everything, but you are just much more concerned with minimizing risk. So there's always a trade-off, right? So if you are a person who cannot take risk, you are going to have lower risk, but you are also going to have lower return. Okay. If you are a person who can tolerate risk, if you can tolerate high risk, so you can invest in something pretty, aggressive and risky, but the payoff is a higher return. Okay. If you're moderate, then that means that you're kind of somewhere in the middle. You're okay with risk, but not a whole lot. So you're going to invest in things that may yield you kind of a middle of the way return. So let me give you some examples. All right. Low risk, low return, the high yield savings accounts, the utility bonds, the municipal bonds. Those are those type very conservative type things, right? Middle of the way would be like mutual funds, would also be like IULs, Index Universal Life. Okay. It's life insurance. Yes, people use them as investment vehicles, and that's kind of a middle of the way kind of thing, right? And then you've got higher risk types of investments, maybe crypto, maybe some other things that you can get a higher return. And it doesn't have to be crypto. It could be some stocks, right? That are high risk. So maybe companies that are up and coming, really high risk, right? But you can get a higher return. So what's a really high return? I think anything in the double digits is a high return. Okay. A low return, anything like 1, 2, 3, 4%. It's kind of a low return. And you start getting to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, moderate return. Okay. After that, 10 double digits all the way on up. Those are high returns. Okay. Now, Ecclesiastes 11:2 says this: invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. Okay, so the Bible speaks very directly to investing, because some people will say that the Bible doesn't align with investing. Well, that's not the case, because the mandate is to produce and multiply, right? So how do you multiply? You invest. Ecclesiastes 11:2, invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. In other words, this scripture is highlighting the importance of diversification, which is another fundamental in investing. You never put all your eggs into one basket, right? So some people will say, well, I have my 401k and I'm all good. No, you're not. You put all your eggs into one basket, okay? And that's one type of thing. You must invest in 7 ventures, maybe, yes, even 8, the Bible says, because you don't know what kind of disaster may come upon the land. So we have had things, investing, depending on what you invest in, like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, paper assets, things like that, can be affected by government and voting, right? Anytime we're voting for a new president, anytime, there's war, all of these types of things, it affects the performance of the stock market. Okay. So this is why diversification is important. So you don't want to just be everything is in paper assets. No, you can have something in paper assets. And when I say paper assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, those types of things. But also you might want to have something in real estate somewhere. Okay. And I know people tend to think about real estate and you just think about maybe flipping and renting, but there's so many different ways. Okay. There's tax liens, there's wholesaling, there's co-wholesaling, there's land flipping. There's a endless amount of stuff that you can do. A diversification of things, diversified things. There's a lot of things, okay, that you can do in real estate, and be diversified even within real estate, right? Then what's another way? You can invest in yourself. And you can invest in businesses. So whether that's you starting a business or whether you invest in businesses, you can do that. So this is what Ecclesiastes is talking about. Invest in 7 ventures. Yes, in 8. Okay. So we look at the different investment types. And even within those, there's diversification, right? But diversification is necessary. Is prudent to investing to minimize any risk. Okay. When in 2020, when we had the sickness, right? There were certain industries that were hit really bad because of that, right? And if you were invested in those industries, you saw a drop. But then there were other industries that if you were invested in those, they went up even higher, right? So the food industry went up higher. Tech, like companies like Zoom and all of those types, higher. Why? Because people are now at home. They're doing everything by Zoom, doing everything virtually, electronically, whatever. So those things went higher. So you have to pay attention to these different things. Okay. All right. So higher risk, higher returns, but also, potential losses. Okay. So that's another thing. When you're investing, you're going to have to become okay with loss. All right. Now, some people will say, well, that's why I don't invest. And that's why I just I just leave it in the bank because I don't want to lose anything. But you are losing. You're still losing. Okay. Just by leaving your money in the bank, you are losing. All right. Because it does not keep up with inflation. So therefore you're losing buying power and you're losing. Okay. So if I'm going to lose, listen, I'm not going to sit there passively and lose. Okay. I'm going to be in there trying to do something about it, but that's just me. Okay. So far we talked about risk and return and the trade-offs. We've talked about diversification, right? And you're spreading our investments across different assets so we can reduce risk. Now let's talk about time horizon. Time horizon is the length of time that you plan to hold an investment. And why is time horizon important? Because when you invest, you should always have a goal. So when I'm working with my clients, before we start investing, before I'm recommending invest this or go here and do that, I want to know, what are your goals? What are your financial goals? And what are the time horizons attached to those goals? I have a child that's going to go to college. A client might say, I have a child that's going to go to college in 7 years. Okay. So we have a child, 7 years going to college. We need to be looking for an investment that is going to yield. How much of the college are you looking to fund? 20% of it, 30% of it, 40% of it, 50% of it, 100% of it, right? We need to know all of that stuff. But also we know that we've got 7 years. So that is going to inform the different types of investments that we're going to look at, right? If there's something that you want to do and you want to do it in 3 years, that's going to inform the investment that you're going to look at. Okay. If you're someone who needs cash right now, like you're like, I need cash flow, right? Like I need cash flow. Well, then you might look into doing some wholesaling or some land flipping or something like that. And that gets you some cash flow. But that cash flow, then now you can take and do other types of investments with, right? So that is, so now we've talked about risk, we talked about diversification, we talked about time horizon. Okay, how do you get started with investing? Some people might think you need hundreds of thousands of dollars to start investing, and that is not the case. You can invest with $10, $25, $1. Okay, depending on, so that you have no excuse wherever you are. You have no excuse, right? Now, obviously, if you only have $1 to invest, then please don't expect that you're going to get a super high return. Okay. You got $1 into invest. You might make a few pennies here and there. You might make, I don't know, 1%, 2%, whatever. Right. So likewise, I have people say, well, I can start with 25, knowing they could probably start with 1,000 or 5,000. Like you to start with 25. 3% on $25, 4% on $25, even 10% on $25 is, is not exciting. But if that's where you got to start, then you start there. Okay. Until you can get to a place where you can do more. There is this thing, and I forget what the actual law is called, but it's like building up momentum. Okay. Even when you're saving, which is not investing, you just start doing it. Okay. You start where you are. And the more you do it, like the more momentum that you build. And it's just crazy how it works, is because it's like we start something and then these opportunities just start to come. In the Bible, it talks about just like having faith, and faith without works is dead. And sometimes faith is just putting that one foot forward, right? Just starting right where you are. And when you start right where you are, it's just this law, this natural law that it seems like that it opens up, different opportunities. You build this momentum, starts to open up different opportunities. Okay. So never be discouraged. Maybe you can't, go buy a home and flip it right now. You don't have the money for that right now. But perhaps you can wholesale, right? Get you some cash flow, make $5,000, $10,000 on a wholesale deal. And now you can take a portion of that $5,000 and $10,000 and do something else, right? and you make the yield from that, and continue to do that a few times till you can do something bigger, right? And something you might become who knows, you can become a transactional lender. Like I have clients who have become transactional lenders while while they're coaching with me, right? Now everybody's situation is different. That may not be the case for everybody. So, but others have become investors in other ways, right? And they may have started out on an app like Collab, where you can invest in real estate for $10, but start somewhere. Okay? Start somewhere. And always, again, have a goal. Know what you're going to do with that yield before it comes in. This is just like basic in finances, right? Even when you go to work and you're going to get a paycheck, that paycheck, you should have allocation so that when it comes in, that money is not telling you what to do, you're telling it what to do, right? Matthew 25:14 through 30 is the parable of the talents. Basically, it starts off by saying, for it would be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went his way. So listen, Linda, listen. The Lord has given you according to your ability right now. Some of us may be asking, well, why I need him to give me more first before I go and do, before I invest. And the Lord is saying, no, I've given you right now according to your ability. And you need to demonstrate with the little bit that you have that you can go and multiply that. And then I can give you more. Okay. So he gives according to your ability. Because remember, it's his property. That's what this said, that the man was going on a journey, called his servants, and he entrusted to them his property, not their property. Okay. So what we produced through our jobs or whatever, that is what God has given us according to our ability. All right. Now, 2 of them, went and they multiplied. The one who had 5 went and multiplied. The one who had 2 went and multiplied. The one who had 1 didn't do nothing with his. Okay. The 2 that did, they doubled theirs. Okay. So when the man returned and he was checking in with his servants with, like, hey, what's going on? And I'm really shortening and simplifying this. They were able to report that they had multiplied theirs. And so he was like, great. He trusted them with more. But the one with 1 went and buried it. Now, symbolically, okay, it said put it in a ditch. Symbolically, that means like you wasted it, okay? Didn't do anything smart with it, right? And so that servant was reprimanded and punished, okay? Because the mandate is to produce, multiply, and dominate people, okay? I'm going to keep reminding you of that, all right? So, we must invest wisely, and we must expect growth, okay? And that's what God wants us to see. Wants to see us do is to multiply. Okay, I have been mentioning here and there the different types of investments, paper investments. So I want to go through that and just give a one-liner to those. So stocks, ownership in a company, potential for higher returns. So you can invest in Apple. Okay. When you say you own stock in a company, that's what that is. Bonds. This is you loaning money to companies. Okay. So when you purchase a bond, you are loaning money to a company or to the government, and there are fixed interest payments on that. Okay. It's lower risk, so it's going to be a lower return. Stocks are higher risk, so it's going to be a higher return. Then there are things called mutual funds, where there are pools of money from many investors to buy a diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds. So that's, sometimes a good way to enter in, because, maybe you don't really understand how to deal with individual stocks yet, or maybe you don't have enough money to buy individual stocks of all these great companies, because they're individual stock. It may be, 100 something per stock, 200 something, 300 something per stock. So you do mutual funds, pool your money with other investors. You buy a diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds. Okay. Then we talked about real estate. Within real estate, you can, invest in physical property, okay, where you rent it or you fix and you flip it, that kind of thing. So, but there's also wholesaling, tax liens. It's a plethora of things. There's transactional lending. There is a plethora of things in real estate that you can do. You've got index funds and ETFs, and these are funds that track a specific market. So if you ever hear about like the S&P, you may not understand it, but index funds or ETFs, they can track the S&P or some other type of market, right? And they also provide diversification, and people usually like those because they have lower fees than mutual funds. Then I also said you can invest in a business, right? If you don't start a business, maybe you can invest in one. And there are apps where you can invest in businesses, again, for as low as 10 to 20 bucks, or, you can do something greater than that. Okay. Proverbs 21:5 says, the plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. We talked about that already. We talked about diligent planning and research when you're choosing your investments. So I want to give you some actionable tips as we wrap up here. Because I've been on for like 36 minutes. So I want to wrap up. But here are some actionable tips. One, set clear investment goals. What does that mean? Define what you want to achieve with your investments. What are you trying to achieve? You want to set yourself up for retirement. You want to buy a home. What is it that you're trying to achieve? You can even be trying to do all, both of those things or two or three things, but know what you're trying to achieve so that you can select the right types of investments. You want to determine what your risk tolerance is. Am I a person who's conservative or moderate or aggressive? And then what is my time horizon? Okay. If I want to buy a home tomorrow, there isn't an investment out there. There is, but you likely don't have that kind of money because then you would just outright buy your home, right? There are transactional lending opportunities where you can loan money. So, for example, a wholesaler will buy a house. Wholesaler is someone who gets a house under contract, and then they find a seller, get a house under contract. They don't own the home. They just own the contract. They flip it. They flip the paper, right? They flip the contract, and they find a buyer for the house buyer. So they're in the middle and they get a fee for that. Wholesalers sometimes have to do something that's called a double close. I don't want to get into all of that. But it requires them to actually buy the property first, then the buyer, and they can do all of that in the same day. And the reason why a wholesaler may be able to do that is because they have access to transactional lenders. So you may have a transactional lender who will loan the wholesaler $200,000, $300,000, $100,000, whatever on that day. And in the same day, get their money back with a return. Okay. So that's not something that everybody can do is basically what I'm saying, right? So you definitely want to look at what is your risk tolerance, and then what is the time horizon that you're working with so that you can choose the appropriate investment. Start small and diversify. That's actionable step number 2. Begin with small investments and gradually increase as you become more comfortable. Now, even with my clients who may have lots of discretionary money to invest with, lots of investment money, if they have never invested in anything before, I'm not going to them saying, yeah, let's take your 80,000 and go do this. No, not at all. I might say, hey, we're looking at this. Let's take $1,000 just so you can see how it works, right? And then as they are comfortable, then they're like, okay, well, now I can do 10,000, or now I can do 20,000 or 30,000 or something like that, right? So start small, then diversify. Diversify your investments. We talked about that extensively to spread risk across different asset classes. So if there is one industry or sector of investments that is getting hit right now, the rest may be doing okay. All right. Educate yourself. So read books, take courses, follow reputable financial sources. Okay. Like myself, you've got also Apostle Juanita Corey Jackson, who is a real estate guru. You'd be following her. You got some bigger named, ones like Bigger Pockets in real estate. You've got, um, um, oh goodness, I cannot think of the guy's name right now. Anthony, somebody. I cannot think of his name right now. Oh my gosh, mine just drew a blank. Anyway, follow reputable people, um, sources to learn investing. You can consider working with a financial advisor to develop your own personalized investment plan. Okay. And note again, a financial advisor, they're not going to work with you on your whole entire financial setup. They are just there to help you invest. They care less about anything else. But if you work with someone like myself, I'm going to work with your finances as a whole, because the truth is everything in your finances is connected and should be working together. Okay. So consider working with someone like myself, where you can holistically address all of your financial challenges and goals. Proverbs 13:11, dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. So to be successful investing, you want to be consistent, and invest in things that are honest, okay? And gradual growth over time. Anytime you're looking for something that's like overnight, you're going to get yourself in trouble. That's what the Bible says. Dishonest money dwindles away, okay? But whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. All right. Stay invested. Okay. Know whether something is short term and long term. If it's long term, ride it out. There are going to be fluctuations. There are going to be ups and downs. Don't get scared. Don't pull your money out because there's downs, right? When it's a long term invested, you ride out the market fluctuations. Okay. Consistent investment amounts. So I always encourage my clients to invest regularly. So that's monthly or quarterly, regardless of what the market conditions are, because many studies have already shown when you invest consistently, you'll realize higher returns over time. Every now and then, you're going to have to go back and adjust your investment portfolio, okay? Because again, things in the market change. So this is not a set it and forget it, okay? You can do that with the help of someone like myself. And last thing I'm going to share with you, avoid emotional decisions. Stay disciplined. Don't make impulse decisions in investing. Don't do it. It never works, okay? Stay disciplined. Remove your emotions, okay? Stick to the, to the facts of the thing, okay? All right, final Bible reference I want to share for you is 1 Timothy 6:17-19. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, not to put their hope in wealth. Our hope is not in wealth, people, okay, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. Okay, we balance our wealth building with being generous, because we're not wealth building just to be selfish. We are wealth building to be generous, and we're also trusting in God's provision. We're not trusting in the investment. We're trusting in God, and we're trusting in God's provision. Okay, so that's all that I want to share with you all today. I hope that this has been helpful. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you're on Facebook, make sure you follow. If you're watching this somewhere else, whatever it costs you to do, please do that. Leave a comment. I'd love to know what you thought about this episode. Leave a review. And you can find me at the Lexi Johnson everywhere. I'm super excited because I have a Patreon membership thing that is coming up. So if you're on my email list or in my Facebook group, you're going to get that information as soon as tonight or tomorrow. I'm super excited about that because guess what? Sometimes, you're just getting started. You can't really afford to pay, thousands of dollars for a comprehensive strategic plan, or you can't afford to pay, 10 grand for a one-on-one 12-month coaching thing. But with this Patreon, this is going to be great because you can afford $5 per month, right? I mean, if you buy Starbucks once a month, or if you go to McDonald's once a month, or some fast food place, if you go there at once a month, then you can afford at least $5 a month, right? And so you'll have the opportunity to join my Patreon. That information is coming, and we're going to get to do all kinds of great things together. And so for those that are just starting out, get excited, because for just $5 a month, you can get some really great personal financial guidance to get you on your way. All right. So with that, I am going to close out, and I will see you next Thursday with our next session in this series and getting organized in our finances. All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.